Today we are going to discuss about method of strengthening of concrete columns. Why we need to strengthen the concrete columns. We will discuss today. And at the end of this, you will be aware about the method and procedures we can follow in strengthening of the columns. Let's see what are the requirements for why we need to do the strengthening of concrete columns. It could be due to structural failure. Structural failures could be due to the inadequate column size or inadequate reinforcement requirement or any construction issue. In these kind of situations, you might need to enhance the capacity of columns. And then there may be durability issues. As you know, durability is much more concerned in the structure. So cracking, corrosion, all those are durability issues. So the reinforcement could open due to the cracking, and then they will expose to the corrosion. So carbonation, chlorination, all those things will lead to the corrosion of the reinforcement. And also we need to increase the column load in cases where we are going to have additional flow. Sometimes once you do the construction, you might need to increase the number of floors. In such a situation, your column load will be increasing. In these situations also, we are going to increase the column size. In these situations, you have to put special attention on the foundations. You have to check the foundations are okay. You have to make sure foundation capacity is adequate. Apart from that, there may be low strength concrete columns. When you check the characteristic strength when you check the strength of the concrete, if it is found that if the strength is lower than it is expected or the required level or specified level, in these kind of situations you have to assess the column capacity. So if the column capacity with the strength of the concrete you found is not adequate, in such situations you have to increase the capacity of the column. In these instances also we might increase the column capacity by different ways that we discuss later on. So now I think you are clear with the requirement of why we need to increase the column size or column strength, column capacity. Why we need the column strengthening. Mainly we are today we are going to discuss about three methods that we are going to that are available in strengthening the columns. First one is reinforced concrete jacketing. Second one steel jacketing. Third one FRFB confining. So one by one, let's start discussing about this. Reinforced concrete jacketing. In this case, we are going to increase the column size. We are going to add additional reinforcement to the column. Let's see how we can do the reinforcement jacketing. In this case, don't worry about the sketch. So the column will be like this. So we are going to have a enhanced section, right? We will be adding section like this. So you have to increase the reinforcement like this, right? So you are adding the reinforcement into the column. With that you can get the additional capacity. So you have to anchor the reinforcement, and this reinforcement need to be confined. So as you can see here, you have to use the links to confine the reinforcement. And also you have to consider the dowels inserted into the column, because that connection you have to make sure. If this new section is separated, then there won't be any use in adding new section. Okay, so if I draw this section here, it will be like this. So the existing section, you can have enlarged section by adding reinforcement and concrete like this. So here we have to have a reinforcement around the new section. So we have a links vertical reinforcement like this. So we have a vertical reinforcement, and also we have a horizontal reinforcement in the form of links. So this link you might not be able to insert, but what you can do is you may use these kind of links to insert into the column, because link like this you can't insert because the column is already constructed here. So column is there, so you can't insert that. That you have to keep in mind, and this you have to keep in mind because these are very important to maintain the connection. In addition, you have to chip this joint adequately to increase the bonding. In addition, you have to have a bonding agent there when you do the concrete. The concrete also, it might be very difficult to do the concrete in the top part. So therefore, you have to consider special things in those kind of situations. So if you need to construct section like this, you might have a homework like this for filling the this corner, right? So you can fill like this with this arrangement. So then you can have later on you can chip this part and you can remove it. So these kind of things you might need to consider at corners. Next, we are going to discuss about steel jacketing. So steel jacketing is a simple thing, but there are different methods you can use for steel jacketing also. If you draw the column like this, there are different ways. You can add steel section like I-beam, box section along with the column. So if we have a steel section like this, then it will enhance the capacity. So you know you have a four side, so you might have some sort of steel sections around the column. So capacity could be assessed based on that. So you might anchor these things to avoid the buckling. So you might fix these to the column, avoid the buckling. There may be certain anchorage arrangement you might consider that. In addition to that, you also can do the you can insert the steel plate. I will draw it in this side. You might insert a steel plate like this. So this is steel plate. You are going to attach to the column. That also can be done. So you might have a certain arrangement to the fix this. So you might use anchors and you can use nut and bolt there. In addition to that, this gap, first you might chip this surface, and this gap could be filled with the epoxy, right? So you might use epoxy to fill that gap. So with that also you can enhance the capacity of the column. So you have a column section like this, so you add the steel plate there. So you fill this gap, and you can have a chip surface, and then you insert the steel plate and you can fill this gap with the epoxy. That can be done. In addition to that, you can use the FRFE also to enhance the capacity of the column. This FRF is will be discussing in detail in a separate video, but if we outline that, we can confine the column. Once you put the FRF along the around the column, it will confine the column, and with that also there will be enhancement in the capacity of the column. So you have to do the necessary calculation to make sure the requirement of that. In addition, you have to keep in mind that these, when you're doing those things, fire requirement, you have to make sure your strength is okay. That those things you have to consider. In addition, now if this column is cracked or column the reinforcement are corroded, on those kind of situation you might not go with the FRP. You better go with the other options, and you better repair the column first, and you have to make sure this column reinforcement are not corroded that much. And if there are excessive corrosion on the reinforcement, you have to do the reinforcement concrete jacketing like you have to do reinforcement jacketing like thing other than using the FRFP or steel jacketing. That you have to assess the particular condition, and then you have to do the necessary strengthening method. So the strengthening method has to be selected based on the condition of site. With that, we are going to end today's discussion. We hope that you learn about the method available for strengthening of the concrete column. Let's meet again for new video. Thank you very much for watching our videos.